The SEC has just made a massive announcement here. This is probably one of the most bullish things ever released by the SEC, the US regulatory authority. It's such a huge change happening right now compared to Gary Gensler, the former head of the SEC, the US regulatory authority. I had to read through it a couple of times right away. First, I couldn't even believe what is happening right now. We're not just seeing a 360-degree turnaround here, as Annalena Baerbock would say, but actually a 720-degree turnaround. But somehow I get the feeling that people don't really understand what's going on here. In my opinion, the Bitcoin price should already be much, much higher. The Bitcoin price is way too low here. At the same time, we're also seeing giants like JP Morgan opening up even further now. Here's Jamie Dimon in a live interview. You really have to see this for yourself. He's now advocating for Bitcoin even though he still hates it, and all of this live on TV. We have statements from Michael Ballweg about Bitcoin and NTV statement. But first, let's smash that like button down below for higher Bitcoin prices, for the epic Valhalla bang, and for the ultra bullish Bitcoin conk. Everyone, go hit those likes down below right now. And honestly, guys, I don't believe in coincidences. Check this out. Here we actually have Elizabeth Warren. Let's turn up the volume a bit here. Here, Elizabeth Warren, the anti-Bitcoin crusader. Here, just a second after this gets published, she collapses to the ground and then gets helped up again. Emergency alert here. Yeah, we can definitely see that the fight against Bitcoin is now backfiring. These must be signs from Satoshi himself that the anti-Bitcoin fighters are now the ones collapsing and having to surrender. We'll see that later with Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan as well. But first, we see here the distinguished SEC chair, Paul Atkins, now officially launching Project Crypto, a significant commission-wide initiative specifically designed to further modernize the existing securities rules and regulations and to effectively bring the US financial markets onto the innovative on-chain infrastructure. And now, check this out, what it says in here. It already talks about America's leadership in the golden age or the golden era of finance, right? It says here, today, I want to tell the world that under my leadership, the SEC will not stand idly by while innovation develops abroad and our capital markets remain stagnant. To realize President Trump's vision of making America the crypto capital of the world, the SEC must take a holistic view of both the potential benefits and risks of moving our markets from an off-chain environment to an on-chain environment. That already sounds pretty bullish, but it also kind of sounds like Bitcoin and crypto are being mixed up here. And now, here it comes, pay attention. We are on the threshold of a new era in the history of our markets. As already mentioned, today I am announcing the launch of Project Crypto, an agency-wide initiative to modernize securities laws and regulations in order to bring America's financial markets onto the blockchain. Here, they also touch on the Genius Act, mentioning that it was successfully passed. Yesterday, the working group here, the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets issued a clear recommendation yesterday to the SEC and other agencies to create a framework that maintains the dominance of the US in crypto markets. And then it goes on to say that this is the roadmap to really get things rolling here. That's why today I'm launching Project Crypto blah blah blah. Project Crypto is meant to ensure that the United States remains, now listen, the best place in the world to start a company, develop groundbreaking technologies, and access capital markets. So that's pretty intense. But this doesn't just mean that Bitcoin is supposed to be pushed forward here. It also includes stablecoins and crypto in general. It's also being said here that basically now everything, is considered a commodity. That means Ethereum is a commodity too, not just Bitcoin. Other things are also commodities. I always look at this a bit critically. I do see differences here between Bitcoin and other projects. But yeah, now the door is basically open for all projects. It's also about tokenization. It's about DeFi compliance super apps. But what I find really wild is that regardless of whether crypto and Bitcoin are being mixed together here, which you can see as a problem or not, the crucial thing is that all of this is being seen as innovation, that the impact of all this is being recognized, and that it really looks like this was all coordinated. I mean, first the crypto Bitcoin report comes out, then a day later this thing from the SEC, so I'm really curious to see what will come out tomorrow. It really seems like this is all a coordinated, staged situation. And we just have to realize that this will attract innovation to the country. This will push the USA forward. This will make the largest capital markets in the world. The USA is the largest capital market in the world. Let even more money flow into Bitcoin because people will feel even more secure. I always say this, people need security. If they don't have that security, they won't invest. And when they do have that security, then they'll just pour their money in full throttle. They'll put their money into Bitcoin ETFs, into treasury companies, and whatever else is out there. Then innovation comes, more people get involved, it goes mainstream, the price goes up, and even more people join in. It's basically a self-reinforcing effect that we're seeing here. And what's really, really crazy is there's now this clip of Michael Ballweg. And first off, it's just awesome that Michael Ballweg is free again, or actually he was already released before, but that he basically wasn't convicted here. And it turned out that this whole thing was just a joke. Michael Ballweg is also a huge Bitcoiner, a massive Bitcoin fan. So big shout out to him as well. Michael Ballweg, it's crazy what he had to go through. And here he makes a powerful statement about Bitcoin because they confiscated everything from him. And this was basically right after the acquittal, right after the court hearing, and he immediately makes a statement about Bitcoin. You really have to check this out. They could take everything from him, but what couldn't they take? See for yourself. So, up until this morning, all of my assets were confiscated except for the Bitcoin assets from Quirdenkin. Because you can't confiscate Bitcoin if you use it properly. Now, really important statement. You can't confiscate Bitcoin if you use it properly. If you leave it on exchanges, it can be confiscated. If you have it in ETFs, it can be confiscated. If you have it in Bitcoin treasury companies, it can be confiscated. Only if you keep it on your own hardware wallet, then it can't be confiscated. That's why I always tell you, get your own hardware wallet. I'll put a link below to the TREZOR hardware wallet. Right now, there's a discount, a mega discount of 20% on TREZOR 5 and TREZOR 3. With the code D60P, you get 20% off here in Germany, and the TREZOR Model T is even 60% off. You probably won't see discounts like this again for a long time. 60% off with code D60P. So get yourself a hardware wallet, then you'll be censorship resistant. It even protects you from government arbitrariness. I mean, yeah, I don't want to swear that something like this will happen to everyone or anything. I hope it doesn't either. Probably won't happen to everyone. But as we know, cases like this do pop up from time to time. Just look at what happened with Ballweg. And then with Bitcoin, you're actually protected. How awesome is that? And yeah, we're feeling bullish right now too. Now we've got this story here, let's say, from the SEC. Michael Ballweg figured it out. More and more people are catching on. Now we've got a clip here from NTV. Check this out. I don't think everyone has fully understood it yet. So people are starting to get it. But you still hear some weird statements from, well, public media outlets.
A lot of people have heard of Bitcoin, but not everyone really knows how it works. Ms. Fandler, first of all, it's great to have you here, especially when you look at it. Bitcoin's price is over $100,000. Is it even worth investing for someone who doesn't have $100,000?
Actually, it's even more than $120,000 right now. And, well, there are an incredible number of opportunities, but also a huge amount of risk, especially if you look at the volatility over the past few years. The 3-year volatility is still around 50%, even though Bitcoin is now quite established. And, yes, it's recommended for very risk-tolerant investors or for those who, have enough money and say, I'll just treat this as play money.
Bitcoin is just play money. Bitcoin volatility. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. Risk Bitcoin. I think the biggest risk you can have these days is actually not having any Bitcoin. That means you can do whatever you want. You can consider 1%, 10%, 20%, even 120% if you want. But having 0% Bitcoin could be a really, really big risk. Also, simply to protect yourself here from certain people, from arbitrary government actions, from a collapsing system as a hedge against the dollar, as a hedge against the euro, and so on. I mean, none of this is financial advice. And the thing about volatility is, of course, always bullshit. If we hodl long-term over a 5-year or 6-year period, then we don't have volatility. On a one-day basis, of course, we have volatility, but I always say it, Bitcoin is a long-term game, not a short-term game. And yes, at least here it's mentioned that there are also massive opportunities. That's mentioned, but it always comes with a bit of a tone like, yeah, it's a bit of play money and a bit of a casino and this and that and the other. Hey guys, you need to get this. Bitcoin has nothing to do with gambling here. Bitcoin is the greatest financial revolution of all time in human history. This isn't about playing a bit of casino or anything like that. This is about the really big things, the essential things. This is about separating money and the state. This is about laying a new foundation. Look, we're always building here. Here, I've got the shovel. Here, I've got the bucket and the shovel. We're always basically building monetary systems, building economic systems, building things, and we always build everything on quicksand, on sand. And then we build and build and build. First of all, we don't have proper tools because we're building everything with fiat money. Secondly, the foundation is crap because we're also building it with fiat money. And then we build, and then the whole thing collapses again. Then there's a crisis, then there's a crash, boom and bust cycle, this, that, and the other. And why do things keep falling apart over and over again? Yeah, because we have a crappy foundation. We need to have a solid foundation, just like with a person. Person needs a solid foundation. They also just need to figure certain things out. They need to spend some time in silence. They need to figure out what's going on in their consciousness. Who is the one thinking the thoughts? Who is the one experiencing the feelings here? Who is the one experiencing everything? Who is actually the observer watching all of this? If you haven't answered these questions, if you haven't figured out the basics here, who am I? And if so, how many? If you haven't answered that, then you're building your life on quicksand. And that's exactly what we're doing with the financial system. We've never really settled the basics, and then we just build a system that keeps falling apart, and honestly, that's just ridiculous. And that's why Bitcoin has nothing to do with play money here. Instead, Bitcoin is the massive game changer. Like Einstein always said, you can't solve a problem on the same level where it was created, you have to move to a new level of consciousness. And that's exactly the shift that Bitcoin triggers here. Bitcoin is the trigger into a new sphere of consciousness. And the same thing has to be realized by Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan. one of the biggest Bitcoin critics, but also the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world, JP Morgan Chase. Just listen to what he has to say in his latest interview. He's really capitulating here and probably freaking out inside.
So I'm a believer in stablecoin, a believer in blockchain, not personally a believer in Bitcoin itself. But you're the customer. I don't like to tell customers what they can and can't do with their money. That is a whole different issue for us.
So he's basically saying he believes in blockchain. He believes in stablecoins, but he doesn't believe in Bitcoin, but he can't change it. He's basically the service provider for the customers here. If people want Bitcoin, even if he thinks it's crap, he still has to give them Bitcoin, and we can really see this massive capitulation. And yeah, everyone just has to realize the truth sooner or later. You can't get around Bitcoin, and even if you're a Bitcoin hater, you still can't avoid Bitcoin. Just like if you hate the internet or hate cars, you still have to adapt to them sooner or later, because otherwise other people are just way more efficient than you, and you'll be at a competitive disadvantage. I mean, you don't have to. You could also, walk to Turkey if you want. Sure, you can do that, but it's really inefficient unless you actually enjoy it or you really want to not use the internet and instead send carrier pigeons or smoke signals. You can do that too. You could also communicate with your friends by carrier pigeon or smoke signals. Yeah, let me know in the comments how you see it. If you want to buy Bitcoin, link below for 21 Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin, use code Bitcoin or TILT. You can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Guys, see you next time. See you then. Peace out.